I want to talk about food and diet because it's 4:30 on a Sunday afternoon and I haven't eaten yet and I don't feel hungry, and I ate about 8 o'clock last night. I'm currently a carnivore, probably slightly dirty carnivore. I do have a little bit of avocado, and every now and then I can't resist cucumber with apple cider vinegar. So I'm not completely. Every now and then I have to eat chocolate as well. And I'm actually finding that the carnivore is making me lose too much weight. I get too thin, and I need to eat chocolate to balance that back. Anyway, I use chocolate as the thing that I eat to have a few carbs when I really feel like I'm losing my everything. Because I don't need to eat that much. What I find is a couple of eggs and a couple of sausages can do me. Now, I'm a bit budgetized and tight with money right now because there just isn't any. So some days I only eat that much. Some days I can have a big roast lamb or huge steak and several eggs, etc. But I also find that the days I eat a lot more lead to days where I don't need to eat that much. So I guess that would have been the way when we were carnivore and we were all running around eating, killing animals. Might only have 2 days of food where you pig out and you eat as much as you can, and then a couple of days of light eating because there's nothing to eat. But the reason I'm here is because I got sick. And I laughed at carnivore. I saw carnivore about a year before I took it on, and I laughed at it. And we remember the Atkins diet, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of did laugh at it. But what happened to me after a lifetime of eating vegetables and eating carbohydrates, gosh, I remember as a child thinking, how can these calories be the same as those calories? It just didn't make sense to me. But hey, I was offered this amazing pyramid that told me that it basically was. It was all the same, just different numbers. Didn't matter what you ate, blah, blah, blah. And then all the rules came in that some people follow, but I've always done butter, put it that way. I've never not eaten butter. So I grew up meat, potato and 3 veg. Tripe. Oh my God, my mother used to cook tripe. That was the worst thing when that was cooking in the house. The smell was terrible. Anyway, as a adult, I was vegan for a while. I was even a raw vegan for a while. I was even teaching raw vegan classes for a while. And I remember at one point I got really, really thin. When I look back now, I think maybe the vegan at the time, raw vegan at the time, maybe that's why I couldn't see certain things that were happening in my life, because I wasn't so connected, through the food. I don't know. It just kind of like stuff was going on that I didn't know about, and I'm like, I wonder if my carnivore self would have realized. Anyway, did all that. Raw. I mean, when I was making food for people on a week-long retreat, there was like 19 vegetables in every goddamn meal. I know. I look back. But then, and you know what I used to teach then? That everything should have its natural diet, and I believe that with cats and dogs and stuff, raw meat. And even with monkeys and things, they eat their raw diet. If you put something in a cage, you give it its raw diet. And I used to say, if you put man in a cage, what would you give him? And his raw diet should be, and I thought, fruits and vegetables. But you know what? One day I learned that the fruit and vegetables that we eat today are less than 10,000 years old and have all been manipulated and created by man. And so they can't possibly be our natural diet. So that actually blew the top off my head one day. whether you believe it or not, it has a huge impact if that is truth. And at the moment, I feel like I've actually got oxalates coming out of me, coming out through my skin from all the vegetables over the years. But back to the story. Veggies, lots of veggies. Yes, I ate protein for a while after being vegan before I became ill. But when I think it was 54, a few years back, I got diverticulitis and ended up in hospital 3 times, two for like 3-day stays, and on intravenous antibiotics and intravenous I don't know, what's the other thing they were giving me? Can't remember. All crap. Morphine. Morphine. My God. When I said, I need more, and she said, oh, we can give you more. I said, but you just gave me some. And she goes, yeah, but if you're still in pain, we can give you more. And I'm like, God, yes, more. It was painful. It was worse than childbirth, and I've done twins. So don't want to get diverticulitis. Anyway, in my little journey of what the fuck, I had several weird incidences. So the first one was when I came home, they said, eat soft vegetables for a week. So I tried to eat soft vegetables for a week. And then one day I'm just like, this is fucked. I can't even think straight. And I bought $25 worth of snapper down the road, probably half a kilo, and scoffed it all. And it was like my brain turned on. All of a sudden I could see straight. I could think. And there was clarity in my mind. It was one of the most phenomenal feelings and experiences from eating a piece of food. Lovely fish. And so I thought, wow, that's interesting. Now another one I'll tell you about, which isn't kind of related to the time frame, but does and did happen. Starving, like done a couple of massages, really hungry. I'm a carnivore now, so run down the road to get roast lambs because I don't want to cook it from the roast shop, and some pork crackling skin. And then I was picking up Chinese for the kids. And so I run in there, grab the roasty stuff and go and sit in the Chinese. And I sit there and I eat $2 worth of pig skin, the fat, crackling, pure fat. Eat that, $2 worth. Drive 5 minutes home and I'm not hungry. I didn't even need to eat the meat. I didn't need to eat the meat. I ate $2 worth of fat and I was satiated. And I just sat there and I thought, well, this is really interesting. How long is that going to keep me going? Because this is a test. See, I'm testing it all the time. When you eat very little, you can test things and prove things to yourself through experience. And I sat there and I thought, I'm going to see how long this $2 worth of fat lasts. It lasted me till the next evening when I needed to eat again. So I do 1 or 2 meals a day. If I have done a couple of massages in the morning, which is very rare, so it's the only time I would need to kind of eat by about 2 o'clock, maybe I'll get hungry by. But if I just had a low-key day and I haven't really been that physical, yeah, and most days, I don't eat till about 8 o'clock. Between 4 and 8, 6 and 8, somewhere around there. But back to where I was before I was off there and distracted myself. Sorry, the flies are distracting me now. On my journey of trying to figure out the diverticulitis, I realized that the vegetables were actually making things worse. And I had a colonoscopy, and I think it was a week before I decided, that's it, I'm going carny. I thought about it for a while. I looked at a few testimonials of people with good results on all kinds of things, and I thought, I'm convinced this could help me. And what I also thought was, it's just enough to give me something to eat while I rest the bowel, because I'd already figured out that carbs basically made my shit runny and would move straight through me. So push things through too fast. So, I mean, when you've got tubes like this and we're all just a bunch of tubes, you can imagine that there's only so many things that can go wrong with tubes. So it can get blocked, right? Or it could get squished, or it could get kinked, or it could get like expand, or it could tighten. There's only so many things that can go wrong. So I wanted to give the tubes a chance to rest. I wanted to give them, and I had, even when you're doing colonoscopy, you're doing a fast for a little while, and doing things like that. So I ended up turning on to the carnivore and going, yep, this can help. And because my bowel was in a state of distress from carbs, it quickly, without any weird symptoms, just went to complete wellness almost immediately. I had no symptoms. Like a lot of people who go carny, they shit themselves 2 weeks solid. Didn't have any of that because I'd come from that, and this was like the healing side of what that was doing with all the carbs, right? Because that's what happens. Now I'm carnivore. I know if I'm carny, good, and then as soon as I eat some carbs, a little bit slippery tomorrow. Everything's moving too fast. It's like, right, get back on the carnivore. So yes, my body's responded so well to it that I've just basically stayed there. I stayed there for a good year. Now, I couldn't believe how quickly and easy it was. It stopped all my pain. It stopped all my bloating. It stopped all my gut distress. I ended up, even after coming home from a colonoscopy and having a steak that night, next morning, one tiny little poop. And it's when I'm only carny, that's what happens. One tiny little poop every morning. No pain, no farting, no bloating, no distress, no nothing. I don't even fart anymore. It's incredible what eating carbs does. Now, when you, even if you try this diet for yourself for 2 weeks or even a month, because, okay, most people shit themselves for 2 weeks, so you're not going to enjoy it by the end of that. But try it for a good month. And if you don't see the difference and feel the difference, what I find is I feel like I've been freed from this treadmill. Actually, it's a wheel, like a mouse wheel that goes around and around of food, because my entire life was buying food, preparing food, cooking food, serving food, and amongst everything else. There's so much focus on what's next, what do we eat, what do we want, 3 meals a day. Oh my God, now I can pull 4 lamb chops out of the freezer, throw it in a pan, put a timer on for 8 minutes, put it on high, flip it at 8 minutes, do another 8, grab a couple of boiled eggs, and I'm having my dinner. And there's 2 things to wash. Okay, 4, knife and fork. I feel so freed by it. I really do. It's quite incredible. Now, I'm in a place now where I'm only looking after myself, like the family's grown up and they're doing their own things and they can eat what they want. But even when I was still cooking for my 18-year-old, giving him a lot of protein, he's probably doing too much sugar. He always has. Slight addictive personalities. Don't we all have that? Depends which way you direct it. So yeah, anyway, the carnivore that I eat is basically just, like I say, some days might be a couple of sausages and a couple of eggs. Then the next day I might be more hungry, big steak. I love roast lamb. I render my own tallow from beef fat that I get from the Chinese shop down the road, butchery. And so I always have that on hand, and I always cook in that. I could use lots of butter. So the $2 worth of fat being a whole day's eating is really interesting to me, and shows me how important the fat is, especially for making the hormones and things that we need, and especially older women like me, we need our fat. So there was another point where, that's right, I'd been dragged up to a friend's house and she forced me to drink a bottle of champagne with her, and I actually got pain. I had pain for 3 days in my gut, and I knew it was the wine. This was early on when I'd gone carnivore. And that was the last wine I drank for almost a year too, because that was, like, pain is a great motivator. It tells you when you need to not do something. So yeah, but that what I did, I was watching a woman who was talking about the 80% fat for women, and I did a fat fast because she talked about a fat fast, and it's a butter fast. So the only way I could get a lot of butter into me when I did get hungry over these 3 days, and I only took some when I felt hungry, was in tea. Like I'd have a cup of tea and put 50 grams, 100 grams of butter in it to melt it. And then I'd stir the tea and take a sip and stir it and take a sip, because the butter would all come to the top and I wouldn't really want to be drinking a mouthful of butter, but with the tea it was palatable, semi-palatable. I did that for 3 days and I didn't end up going to hospital with that attack of diverticulitis. So there's a Facebook group I've been on, and I've been shunned in there because my message is not to their liking. They will want to take Metamucil and book in their next operation where they can be chopped open and have bits of their body dragged out. I've worked with Tantra, and I work nude, so I'm not having a poo bag on my belly. Wasn't an option for me. I had to find a way to not go down that route. But yeah, I even had the admins of this group writing to me one day saying, yes, Natalie, we know you like carnivore, but it wouldn't work for everyone. It wouldn't work for everyone. I'm like, oh, really? Have you tried? Oh, yeah, okay. It's really interesting how people love to hold on to their diagnoses. I don't, because what I say is I used to have it because I believe it's cured it. I really do. And you know what? I think it might have actually been, yeah. Anyway, there's other reasons that could have helped cause it, potentially, which I could talk about in another video. But yeah, I reckon the vegetables, unfortunately, are trying to kill us. I know people are going to freak out, and there's so many people on the vegan bandwagon. My daughter's still there. I was there. But I actually do, and even when I was a raw vegan, a few times what I did, I'd be cooking chicken for the kids, and I literally would take the smell and the craving and the desire my body had, right, for the chicken. I would take some skin. I only did it half a dozen times over the course of a year or so, but take some of that skin and chew it up just to get the flavor in my mouth, the taste, and then spit it out. I wonder what the vegans will think of that. I mean, when I went raw vegan, I actually experienced a ton of benefit. And I remember times making lots of juice, a huge juice, vegetables, fruit, everything, and like apple base, but all the veggies, beetroot, blah, blah, blah. And liter and a half. And I sat there and drank it, and not all in one gulp, but, over half an hour. And I remember feeling really buzzy, and now I look back and go, well, what was that buzz that I felt from drinking vegetable juice? Was it a true energetic buzz, or was it a detoxy buzz, or was it I'm trying to kill you buzz, like the toxins, the oxalates? I don't know. I just know how happy I am not to eat most vegetables now. Sounds crazy, eh? I couldn't even imagine eating breakfast or getting up in the morning and needing food. I mean, I do have a coffee in the morning with my cream, but I just think you don't need food. That's how satiating this diet can be. And I have to really train myself to eat more at each meal, because you're sustaining a whole day. If I'm OMADing 1 meal a day, yeah, it's got to last me 24 hours. So sometimes I need a little bit more. But like I said, some days I need less and some days I need more. So I might leave this one here and chat to you later. Over and out.